Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Frank Castle.
And I'm Paweł Kicman. Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Not too bad.
Welcome back to the show,
Yeah.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here again. And for those who might not remember me from the last time, I'm the creator of Mörk Borg and Kill Your Necromancer and a bunch of other stuff. Going by Haltung Storytelling. And now, with my cat, my cat Mia. Say hello, Mia. And and I'm currently running a crowdfunding for HELPOWER, and I guess that will be one of our subjects. And I'm super stoked to be here and stuck with you guys again.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. I think the last time you were on, it was during the campaign for the Heretic's Guide to the Dying Lands.
Yes, true that.
Which I thought was super awesome. How is that? How's wrapping that project been going?
It's going well, but we do work a bit slow because Voltcrawler is taking his time with the art because he said, I would just want to do it right. So he's taking his time with it, just really kind of thinking through every layout, every art. So we're taking our time just to make sure that every page is as good as it can be. It'll obviously go through proofing and then we might change something, but it's going like basically I write like every week a portion so he can work on this. I can have a little of a break, and when he finishes, I'm ready with new stuff. So kind of exchange notes in the meantime. So that's a decent process, so we can focus on other stuff as well in the meantime. But I think we should be ready by the end of, well, I don't want to say end of summer, but potentially we'll see. But it's going well. I'm super happy with how it looks, both kind of writing wise and art wise. So I think people will love it and will use it a lot.
I'm really excited to go through it.
Yeah, no, so and then also I think the crowdfunding for Mörk Borg had finished when you came on, but it has delivered since then. So I see it on your shelf behind you. I see it in my hands right now, and it's a great book. I also got the whole stack of character sheets to go with it. Nice. Which I'm so glad that like Mörk Borg did this, and then all the people that make Mörk Borg stuff started doing this too, because the character sheet pads are just great. Because a lot of times you'll get like 2 or 3 nice character sheets, and I'm like, well, I'm never going to use those. Why would I like mark on the 3 that I get? But when you get a whole pad of them, I'm like, all right, I can actually use some of this and still keep some because I'm a freak like that. But how was we always gotta ask, like, how was this? I mean, you made it, it's great, but like as a kind of a decent sized crowdfunding project with distribution and printing and art and like everything that came with it, like how was that process?
It was painful at times because it was my first project. Well, it wasn't my first crowdfunding and it wasn't my first physical product that I had to make and deliver. But it was my first TTRPG, first project on kind of this scale. And it took me longer than I thought. And now I know I've learned a lot of different lessons throughout it. And it was at times painful, but it was also super fun. And I'm rarely happy with what I do, but I'm really happy with how it kind of turned out because like myself, I'm seeing like I'm looking at a book and I say, okay, but then I hear people saying, whoa, I love how kind of realistic it is. Because it's like it's kind of dark fantasy horror kind of stuff, but I see myself in it, and it's like, okay, so that's cool. That's probably maybe you need some help, but that's cool that you say this. Um, and I think that shows me that I did something right, that kind of elicits some kind of emotions, which is great. And but yeah, the whole process was very lengthy, and it's still not over because there's still some backers that are awaits their book. But we are almost there. It's just now my kind of distributor was struck by hurricane, so it's another delay. So it's always something. But I guess that kind of happens when you're just a solo creator, just doing everything by yourself. And obviously I've mentioned distributor, so that's kind of that, but that comes at the end. So there's only so much I can do when I kind of pass the books over. But to that point, I'm just alone doing everything myself, and it takes time. But also I kind of learn a lot in terms of the process. So for example, I know that Hellpower will be dealt with much better in terms of production. And other projects that I have to finish are always also I have kind of a better process for them in place. Just to make sure that people will be happy with the quality, but also they won't have to wait like a year to get their stuff.
I mean, a year is really not that long when compared to some other projects. I do appreciate that you are like learning these lessons and then actively applying them immediately to like the next project to kind of clean up the process. I think that makes a big difference. And I mean, I think we definitely don't have any complaints about anything that you've released thus far. I mean,
That's fine.
at all.
No, and Korborg's great. Like I love Mörk Borg. Mörk Borg's fantastic. But after Mörk Borg, there was so much Mörk Borg stuff that we took a break from Mörk Borg for a while. But I was really glad I grabbed this because I backed this, I think, before we had ever talked about you coming on the show. So I was really happy. And then when I actually started reading it, like horror is great, and like Mörk Borg, like Dark World is great. But when you hit like corporate horror, like it hits so close to home that it adds this like kind of extra layer to like a layer of like you can imagine like ash monsters and stuff in Mörk Borg, but when about like punching out and like actually going to work and like the extra added bit that it gives you for that like closer touch to reality is great. Like I remember when we first read Merger from Michael Elliott, it was the same thing where like we love this, but like it hits a little too close to home. Like this hurts us a little bit. So really fantastic game. We're not going to talk about this a ton today because we want to talk about Hellpower, but for anybody that has not checked out Korborg from Paweł here, it is absolutely fantastic. It's a really, really fantastic hack on Mörk Borg that I highly, highly suggest everyone goes grabs, and we'll make sure that all of the links to this are down in the description below. But it's the production is great. Like actually get it in hands in like a reasonable time is great, and the game itself is fantastic. So
yeah, it's a great game.
Good job so far, and we'll see. I think like the 3 other projects you have in the works right now. If they reach this quality, I think a lot of people would be very happy.
Thank you.
Yeah. But today we are talking about Hellpower, which is a very interesting take on Mörk Borg as well as like a bunch of other stuff. So first off, for those that can't see the banner above me, what's Hellpower?
So it's a good question because there are several different answers, and I guess each answer will probably make more sense to different people. But in the simplest form, it's kind of a superhero Mörk Borg, but it's also not. It's about people, like normal people. Maybe they're not super normal, but kind of normalish, who are faced against super villains. So you can think like The Boys, or Injustice, or other kind of different comic book, video game, TV series, media that kind of features evil superheroes doing evil stuff and normal people trying to kind of survive in that world. But it's just so much more in terms of how bad it is in this world. So it's like turn up to 11, maybe to 12 even. And people who read the comic book, the Boys, which is a bit more, I think, even more unhinged than the TV series. So I'm doing it even more unhinged. It's going to feature truly kind of evil characters. So like one superhero, for example, I think that's probably the best example like one, well, not superhero, but supervillain, or as I call them, the powered individual. He's got a whole country that he kind of owns, and the whole country is basically a concentration camp for human, and he can just do whatever he wants with them. Like you can only imagine. I'm gonna describe it in details, but that's kind of how vile they are, how evil they are, and they do unspeakable things. And yeah, players will face against them. The only problem is that in a lot of games, and I think Call of Cthulhu is probably the best example. For most of the game, if you do any kind of fighting, you usually fight with someone that you can take down. And like for example, in Call of Cthulhu, you also have enemies that you cannot even touch because they're too powerful. But there are certain ways that you can kind of mitigate the risk or just gain some advantage. And it'll be the same principle in here, but those will be the kind of main focus of the gameplay. So you're just kind of bunch of normal dudes and dudettes trying to take down those super electric powered individuals. But they will kind of mechanically be so powerful that there's no way you can just stand against them in a normal D20 roll kind of fight, because they will have like 666 HP, and they'll deal like D100 damage or whatever. So the whole game is constructed around finding a way to hurt them or to kind of kill, incapacitate, or otherwise kind of deal with them in some way. So the whole gameplay loop is about finding the clues, finding kind of that what's the weakness, and then trying to exploit that weakness in different ways. It can be kind of political, it can be personal, kind of psychological, it can be physical in terms of like you need to get kind of a kryptonite kind of thing to weaken them. So there will be a lot of different options. And because it's a kind of Mörk Borg based game, everything will play out pretty smoothly and simple. And it will leave a lot of room for people to adjust the game to their needs and their vision of what it means to do it. And they can scale themselves up as well. So if they want more of a power fantasy in which they can acquire a power armor like Batman hat and just go and brawl their way out, they'll be able to do it. If they prefer kind of more role play and kind of detective kind of style of gameplay, they can do that as well. Which means that I had to adjust Mörk Borg rules to give people and players more options to really mechanically support what they want to do, but still keeping it very simple so they can have a lot of room to breathe and interpret rules whatever they like, and kind of the rules that will fit on one page still.
Love
but
that.
kind of so it's still going to be simple, but there will be options that will help to run the game in a way that will support the whole gameplay loop idea.
Yeah,
That sounds. You first.
I wanted to say the quick aside is that the only time I ever thought Superman was interesting at all was in Injustice, so I'm really glad that we get to see him in here. But I just want to clarify, just in case, and I love this so much, like the players in this game are just normal human beings, and like the super powered crazy stuff are like the things you fight against. So you just get to be like the same kind of weak, close to death Mörk Borg characters fighting superhumans.
Exactly. There are two ways to gain some powers. Ryan. Okay, we'll wait for Ryan.
No, keep going.
No, okay. So the first way is to get mutated. There's like 50 chance. We'll see. Maybe we'll adjust it, but there's a 50 chance to get some kind of random mutation that will give you some power, but it's going to be very useless. It's going to like you have invisibility of 1% of your body, so like you have invisible hand or whatever. So it's very useless. And the other option is to hunt for imps, because like just to get a little bit more kind of lore around it. So it's called hell power because those individuals got their powers from hell.
Gotcha.
Kind of hell literally opened and burst this kind of energy that rippled through the earth, and uh, all those bad people gain some kind of powers. But also it kind of unleashed those little imps that are physically like physical manifestation of hell. The only manifestation, well, maybe not the only one, but I just want to spoil too much. And by hunting them and eating them or drinking their blood, whatever, like you can cook
Normal
a
imp stuff,
stew,
yeah.
yeah, normal imp stuff. You can also gain powers that will have some downsides, a lot of downsides, um, but can temporarily or for good give you some abilities that will maybe don't make you as powerful as the most powerful powered individuals, but they will give you some options to realize that kind of fantasy of having a superpower. Although it's still, remember, it's a really fucked up world, so it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun. Well, it's going to be fun, but it will have a lot of cons tied to it.
So could you give us an example of one of these like imp endowed powers that you could possibly get?
Sure. So there will be a bit of normal stuff like super strength for flight or kind of invisibility or stuff like that. But it's just it will be pretty kind of straightforward, and it will be pretty well, I don't want to say boring, but pretty normal. But it's about
Normal.
downsides, yeah, normal. But it will be more about kind of what's the price to pay to use them
Mm,
to a certain extent. And
gotcha.
it will be both mechanical disadvantage and also role-playing disadvantage. There will be some things in fiction uh, that will kind of push you into different situations because of you having that imp power. So it's not always the best deal you can have. It's not always worth drinking imp's blood. But it's an option. There will be other options to get you that advantage that might be not as powerful, but might not cost you as much.
Cool. I really do love, like I was saying, that the idea that it's you and you're very insignificant and you're fighting this like overwhelmingly powerful, like evil demigod almost. I think that like that's very has a lot of potential for some very interesting story arcs and character deaths, you know?
Yeah, and I think I wonder if people will have to adjust to it. If some people will be like, yeah, just let's fight them, like let's find their weakness and then just let's go and just do it, and they'll get decimated in seconds. They'll be like, okay, maybe we need a different approach, which I think is okay, but I will try to support and kind of different ways of playing
Hmm.
mechanically. So people will have different options to maybe adjust the game to how they want to play it. If they don't want to spend like 16 hours finding a kind of toxin that will work on certain powered and they want kind of simpler way or faster way or something that will give them more fun in terms of, yeah, we can just brawl it out, then it's okay. There'll be different options, which I think it's kind of how I like to do my games. So it's simple. It's not a lot of words, but there's a lot of breathing room, a lot of options for both GMs and players to figure it out and just wing it when they want, like whenever they want, or improvise, or just kind of adjust the whole thing to how they want to play.
Yeah, it's funny. especially when you look at a lot of the things that obviously jump out to me right away are Injustice and The Boys, because this both are kind of like that to a point, right? With as far as like normal people battling superpowered people. Obviously, in Injustice there were some superpowered people too, but like Batman, for example, it's funny to me that in what you're saying about the different styles kind of happens in both types of that media too, right? Where they spend whole arcs trying to figure out the best way, like, let's get magic so we can take down Superman, but then they always inevitably come to like, take this pill and you get superpowers for an hour and then you can brawl it out with Superman for an hour or whatever. But I really like the idea. I mean, I hope that people, you know, one thing that I really enjoy about, or one thing I think you did really well with the Backerkit page, and even with like the cover, which is up on the screen now, which is absolutely fantastic. Kill the Powered, Rebel Against Hell is great. Is you're communicating really well that like you aren't the superpowered people. So I think the people that will buy this game and lean into it are the people that kind of lean a little bit more towards Mörk Borg, that like having 1 HP and trying to go kill stuff and having it be a little bit harder and a little bit more difficult. And if, you know, one critique we always had on Mörk Borg is like, there's not a whole lot of reason to do stuff except to do stuff, you know? And then in this game, it gives you like a very strong like goal to get to. So spending 16 hours trying to find a poison to take down one guy is exactly the kind of game I want to play in something like this. So I think you're communicating really well the intent behind that. So obviously, you know, it'd be cool to be able to take a power pill to fight the dude for an hour or whatever, but I think you're doing a really fantastic job of communicating what the game is to people.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you think like, why would you why would you do it? Like, why would you try to take down that powered? So there are two different things that I wanted to implement to give you that reason. So one is, well, basically the reason you have that's in your past or just happened recently, something that kind of pushes you to do it. There is a whole random table. You can come up with your own, but there is a random table for that. But having that is very crucial. Having that motivation is crucial because you'll be able to use that motivation to gain a mechanical advantage in the game. So kind of the reason you fight will give you some options when the time when the time comes and when it's going bad and when you're all, you know, about to die. We'll see how it'll be called. I think I had two different ideas. One is Second Wind and the other is Plot Armor. We'll see which one fits better. But basically using that motivation, doing like even role-playing it, like doing a flashback or just describing, just giving a little bit more from the players to add to the fiction, it will give them mechanical advantage as well. So that kind of motivation is really important, both in terms of like, why the hell would you try to take down that guy that can rip you apart in half of a second, but also to have the motivation actually influence the gameplay. I think that will be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that you want in games, I think, period, is just a reason to do things. You can create this insanely awesome world, but like at the end of the day, if I feel like I would just sit around chilling in it, then I'm not really going to go adventure in it. So it's cool that that you obviously have thought about that already and have that built in on top of just the let's free ourselves from these terrible people that are abusing us with their hell powers. So that's really cool to see. I also, one thing that I've noticed kind of in the Mörk Borg space too, which is really cool, is that more people are doing less Mörk Borg stuff and more like hacks of Mörk Borg, which is something I've been wanting for years. So what was your kind of inspiration to, because I know Kurt Borg is exactly that, but also like, you know, Guide to the Dying Lands is Mörk Borg stuff, but what's been your motivation kind of to not do stuff specifically set in, you know, the Mörk Borg world, but to actually take the Mörk Borg rules and do corporate Mörk Borg or do superpower Mörk Borg or stuff like that? Like what's kind of driving you to make these?
So for Corp Borg, the reason was that it was, well, there were a couple of reasons actually. First of all, I wanted to start with, it was my kind of first big project, so I wanted to start with something that will be a bit easier on me, that I can take an engine, or I can take even a kind of a setting or a mood and adjust it. So I can learn by doing that. If I would just go like I will just create my own system, that would be a bit risky and maybe a bit stupid to do as a first project. So that gave me that confidence that I know I love Mörk Borg, and I see how it can translate into that corporate setting. So that was kind of natural choice. But also a little bit of kind of marketing wise, there's a huge community around those games. So I thought
True.
it would be a good start also because I will have an audience already, people who might be, I don't know if they will, well, now I know that they were, but at the time I didn't, that might be interested in looking at this project and supporting it maybe. And with Help Power, there's also a little bit of that, a little bit of, yeah, I know the system and I have that kind of core rules that I can use, and I have an audience that might be interested. But the main reason was because it was it was supposed to be completely different system. It was supposed to be something else. I had a few different ideas. But then I kind of came back to Mörk Borg and I looked at the structure of the game and what I want to do with Hell Power. I was like, okay, so it is apocalyptic. It is a world in which normal people, like weak people, are faced against impossible odds. Okay, so that's also, kind of the same thing. There will be kind of calendar of events that will bring apocalypse closer and closer. And okay, so next match. And also I wanted to be mechanically simple but adjustable. So then again, okay, if I can fit rules on one page, I can, add another page and voila, and it works because it's simple enough, intuitive enough. But also it kind of enables to add things on top of it if should I want to add them. And then I thought, yeah, so that's the best choice, probably, because it fits the kind of the philosophy I want to follow. It fits the setting I want to create. It also fits the kind of the rules I want to use to a degree. Although, yeah, as I mentioned, I will adjust those rules pretty significantly at times. And I think the biggest difference will be addition of skills, or kind of skills, abilities, but in terms of apologies, but skills that you have, you'll assign points to. So like, I don't know, whatever kind of repair or hacking, those will be skills that you'll be able to use, kind of blocks of skills that you will be able to also put together to create your own character. Which still be 6 archetypes, but you will be able to create a completely unique character by building it from those, with those kind of blocks of skills. It won't be super complicated. It won't be like you have, I don't know, it won't work like spells or abilities in other games. It'll be much simpler, but it'll give you that kind of direction in which your character can go and what you can do, maybe better than like normal people, because also it's about having that kind of an advantage in at that kind of human level. Because for example, you will have to I don't know, go into a secret lab and steal something. So then obviously if you're just bunch of normal people without any particular skills, it'll be pretty difficult to do that. But if you have someone who is a ex-military, if you have someone who's kind of mastermind and can come up with different plans, or someone who's excellent at hacking or breaking in, etc., that kind of gives you that direction and also gives you some options to use in the role play. So we'll see how it turns out. Mostly I'll try to play test the shit out of this game to make it as balanced as possible. But that's I think that's the biggest change. And there will be some minor additions or subtractions here and there. But I think if someone will just go to Hellpower from Mörk Borg, be like, okay, I kind of understand, I kind of get it, I can
Yeah.
follow the whole structure, I think. So that's the idea.
I like it. I think you have this very consistent, like, you're good at setting expectations, and like your ability to use Mörk Borg and adapt it also in and of itself kind of sets an expectation for how a game is like to work and go. And I think starting with a hack's a really great idea, because it allows you, like what you're doing is to modularly add on the things that you need on top of a framework that works very well. Do you ever have, are you ever going to consider making your own system?
Yeah, I think so. Whispers of the Woods, that I do struggle to find time to finish it, but I'm writing. I'm kind of every week again, every week I'm putting words on a piece of virtual paper. So it's very close to finish. I have all the artwork done. I have basically everything I need. I just need to kind of spend some time, just sit down and kind of finish it. But it's going to be its own system, very simplistic, very simplistic.
Love it.
And then there is going to be another game. We'll see, maybe this year, if not this year, beginning of next year, which I haven't decided yet, because I have a setting, I have an artist, I have a wonderful idea. I'm like super excited, but I just cannot. I have other things on my mind and other things I have to finish first. But I would so much, I would love to kind of sit down and just do it right now, but I can't. And it's going to be probably its own system, very close to kind of OSR games. So maybe it will be very similar to Mörk Borg, but it's not going to be Mörk Borg. It's going to be basically another rendition of your kind of second edition D&D or BX. So in that vein, so kind of dark, like, well, we'll see if dark, but it's kind of your normal old school fantasy kind of thing, supported by rules that we'll see how it goes. I do think it will be its own thing, its own system, but because of how different OSRs are structured, it's really difficult to say that it's kind of completely new system. It will be very similar to your Knave or Cairn or Mörk Borg or other stuff. But we'll see. I think it will be its own thing. And then I do have some other kind of Mörk Borg or cyber related projects that will be supplements. So that's that. And then we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Very cool.
Yeah. Speaking of system, I do, clearly you enjoy the Borgs, but I do think it's interesting you said you were going to do not Mörk Borg and then came back to it for this, because it fits. Like if you gave me this idea and told me it's like superhumans, but they got their power from hell and little helms come out, like I would think Mörk Borg would be a great system to run that in, especially because human beings are so weak and things like that. So I think it's a great idea to use that as a base. And as I said, like it always surprised me how long it took before people really started making using the system of Mörk Borg and making new stuff versus just making stuff from Mörk Borg, because of how good and clean and light the Mörk Borg kind of base is. It does allow you to add so much to it without ever needing to worry about breaking the system or anything like that. It's really straightforward. It's pretty brutal. It's just it's a really great idea or a great base to hack from, in the same way that we have a million Knave hacks and a million Cairn hacks and things like that. So it's awesome to see other stuff, and it's also really interesting to see something that's set in like the pseudo right now. You did send us some graphics that have been kind of showing up on the board a little bit, but I wanted to talk about them a little bit. So first of all, how about that cover, which is absolutely fantastic? So I think this is all Strega, right?
Yeah. So
Cool.
it's their art, and then I put it together. Because the initial cover was supposed to be completely different. but the artist struggled to finish the piece because he decided to paint it by hand with acrylics. It took a lot of time, and I didn't really have so much time to wait. So I just and then when he kind of finished the piece, it was an amazing piece, which is like which fits perfectly, but it wasn't suitable for the cover. So then I had to make a quick turnaround and was like, okay, what could work? And then I just went, okay, let's see, Batman covers. Okay, no, boring, boring, boring. And then like maybe, Watchmen covers. Okay, okay, this one. Okay, this. Well, maybe we could do something with this one. So I went to Strega just first right off the bat, and I said, listen, I have that idea. How about we do this? And they were like, yeah, yeah, that sounds cool. And I thought their style will fit those images perfectly. And it was like about, there's kind of 9 pieces. We'll put it together and we'll see how it goes. Then it took me a few days to get it right, and potentially the final cover might be a little bit different here and there, but the whole thing I think um, came along, and I think maybe I don't want to say I nailed it because it's not really my kind of thing, because all artists Tregas, and the logo is from Tommy, the creator of Obscure, for example. Just won the Annie for Judge's Spotlight.
They're just
Congrats,
Spotlight,
Tommy.
Groton, yeah, Swamp. They've done a lot of great
Groton,
stuff.
yeah. So that logo is fucking awesome. It's just whenever I showed it to people are like, "Oh my God, it's amazing!" And I cannot agree more. Like I could put the logo on itself on a blank page, like, yeah, that's amazing cover. And yeah, and also inspiration from the cover of Watchmen. I think that came out pretty well, and it also kind of conveys. First of all, it's an homage to a classic cover for a story that kind of, I think, stands within all those different inspirations for the game. But also it tells a story of like, yeah, here you have the title, here you have different supervillains as well, so you can kind of see who they might be, and kind of, okay, well, it's interesting. Maybe I'll open up the book and I'll see who they are. And there's some place to give that additional text to suggest what you're going to do in this game. So I think, yeah, it came out pretty well. I think even better than I initially hoped for, but that's all thanks to Strega and Tommy. And yeah, and the original cover for the Watchmen trade. Well, it's not kind of the first cover. I think it was like one of the kind of editions that came later on, but still pretty cool cover.
Let's see what other. So we have, this is listed as Benner Frau. Love this piece so much. So who might this one be with the sword across the eyes? And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Frau Apata or Apate or whatever you want to kind of pronounce it. Basically, she's a kind of a spoof of Wonder Woman. And it was the first character well, maybe not I think it was no, it was the first character for this game I came up with. And she's basically a kind of reversed Wonder Woman, because she's one of her, like, she's got kind of regular powers like strength, speed, endurance, like at superhuman level. But her thing is the items she's got, her sword and her kind of choker. And the choker kind of gives her this ability to tell lies that people will believe, and you need to do a very difficult roll, like the very difficult test to kind of to try to oppose it. And her sword is also pretty interesting because upon killing someone, it inflicts pain that feels like 100 years of pain condensed in this one moment. So you feel like excruciating pain that feels like it's 100 years like has passed, and all kind of condensed in this one moment of knowing that you are going to die in the next second. And she's also kind of will be a prominent character because her motivations might be a bit vague. She's a murderer. She likes to kill young girls. Not only kill, but do different stuff with them as well. But her parents are politicians, sorry. So she's got a little bit of kind of political agenda and the whole thing that can be exploited by the players. So hopefully an interesting character.
Actually terrifying.
Yep.
Sounds genuinely terrifying.
We got this one that says Overman next to it.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the main baddie. That's the kind of evil Superman or evil Homelander or whatever. I guess it's one of the very many iterations of evil Superman. So all the powers that you can think of that Superman had over the years, he will have. And also he's pretty fucking terrifying because that's the character that owns the whole country of human slaves just to play with. He is pretty deranged. He's super intelligent, but he's also like he's got seemingly no motivation. He just likes to, kill and do different stuff for fun. But he's being kept in check by one of the other characters that I won't spoil today, because this character will have a very significant meaning for the whole game. So there's only one character that can kind of reason with Overman. And also, the Overman will be like this threadless apocalyptical threat that on the 7/7 he comes and just kind of destroys the whole world. So he's kind of the main baddie in that sense. And he seemingly has no weakness. So that will be very interesting. But there, as I've mentioned, there is one very pivotal character to the whole game that will have a say in this.
Nice.
But yeah, the Doberman is just a very fucked up person and is very much inspired by a character from Suicide Squad, The Blaze, by Cy Spurrier. There is a character in there that's even more powerful than Superman, but it's just a guy who's basically raping and killing people in different orders. Sometimes it's just it's like super fucked up, and it's just doing only this, just killing and raping, and that's the whole thing. But because he's more powerful than Superman, it makes him so terrifying. It's just and the whole comic book is amazing in terms of kind of the art, how terrifying the whole thing is, not only on a conceptual level, but on the art level as well. So so that was one of the kind of main inspirations for this one as well.
The art is really giving me Attack Titan from Attack on Titans too, with Eren Yeager and everything. Love that. And then the last one I'll bring up is the last one you sent me, actually, which is this fantastic comic art style spread here. It's got everyone you talked about so far, except for maybe, I don't think Overman's in this, but like Frau's in there. There's some people you recognize from the cover. So what is this piece?
So this is basically an interpretation of the cover done by Rafał Szłapa, who is a friend of mine, a comic book artist, and he's the person. Before we started recording, I said that I wanted to ask every guest who's on a stretch goal list to give me some kind of artwork that I can put in there on the campaign page to just showcase who they are, what they do. And I've asked Rafa just, if you could send me something. It's like, yeah, I will send something and maybe I'll adjust it so it's more kind of super villainish and will fit your game more. And then 2 days after, he just sent me this whole illustration with his interpretation of the characters on the cover. And he didn't even know kind of descriptions of those characters. He just took them straight up from the cover
Nice.
and done it his way. He's like, yeah, okay, just made it, which is fantastic, and also kind of it showcases how the comic book will look like should we unlock it. Even if we don't, I think Rafa will still do a few illustrations that will be in the book. But should we hit the final stretch goal, there will be a 16 pages comic book that will be kind of an introduction to the whole game. Will be illustrated by Raphael, so it's a little bit of a showcase of what he can do. So yeah.
So
awesome.
so talking about the campaign, I've been bringing the page up every now and then, but you are funded right now, almost double funded. But we still got 23 days left in the campaign, so plenty of time for people to go over to Backerkit and back it. But it is funded. Why don't you tell us, if people back it, when people back it right now, what can they get, and what stretch goals are we looking for in the future, including the comic?
Sure. So it's pretty simple. It's very straightforward campaign. So you can get a digital book, you can get a hardcover book, or you can get a hardcover book along character sheets and a little bit of a bonus surprise. Character sheet is ready. It's all done by Łukasz Kowalczuk, who's done the character sheet for Mörk Borg. And this time around, he's done a character sheet in form of a comic book. So basically, it's a kind of narratively driven comic book that serves as a character sheet. Not sure if I send it over. If not, I will. And it's just absolutely fantastic. So that's the package. There are no like super high tiers that you can, I don't know, get a handshake or whatever. So it's just that you can just physical products or a digital one. And then stretch goals starts from kind of your typical some kind of digital content, so different kind of random tables and stuff like that, or handouts you can print. Then you can get some, like you can make the book bigger, additional 8 pages and whatnot. And then there are guests. I don't remember the order of those guests, so I will bring up the campaign so I don't mess it up as well. But I really wanted to ask people that I really admire, and I just thought their art will be perfect for this campaign. So we do have in stretch goals, first of all, we have Phil Jensen, who's done Trapped Within. He's an amazing designer and artist, and I really love, like, he's got a community built around his work, and he's always like doing random tables and then kind of make amazing spreads out of them. It's really, 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 he's really fantastic in terms of making different things work, and he's got a lot of different creative ideas. So I would absolutely love to see Phil doing a page for this. We have Tommy Sunzeneuer, who is obviously we mentioned Tommy. He's done the logo for Hellpower. He's also done Swamp, and he's done Obscure and Broughton. So again, it would be amazing to have him. Then we have Johan Noor. So I think we don't really have to introduce Johan. But to those of you who don't know who Johan is, he's the artist behind original Mörk Borg and Cyborg and a bunch of other things. He's absolutely, an amazing artist, amazing human being, and it would be an honor to have his illustration inside Hellpower. And then last but not least, it's a comic book by Raphael Schwapper with my script. So those are stretch goals. Hopefully we'll be able to get all of them. And even if not, I'll try to make it work so we can get as much cool stuff inside the book and as much guests we possibly can. There might be some other guest appearances that are not within stretch goals, but we'll get to there maybe in one of the following updates.
Awesome.
Yeah, and again, the project's on Backerkit, not on Kickstarter, so definitely spreading this around is going to be super helpful. We've talked about this before. Backerkit doesn't get quite the organic kind of spread as Kickstarter does, but regardless of that, I mean, only a weekend, you're already at almost 10,000 euros and almost 200 backers, so that in and of itself is already, successful. Obviously, we want to get to that almost 30K to hit that comic book. It's at 26.6, so we'll definitely... anyone listening to this, obviously you need to go back it and spread this around to everyone else. It sounds fantastic. Obviously the Mörk Borg community is going to be supportive of this. But on top of that, I think The Boys is really popular right now. Anyone that's in TTRPGs that has been watching The Boys, I think this is going to be, one of the closest experiences I've seen to capturing the feel of what that feels like. So this looks like a really neat project to grab onto to in a fucked up world, but isn't everything. But yeah, so on top of this, on top of Core Borg coming out, on top of everything coming out right now, for those things that are out digitally right now, where can people find your stuff? And obviously we'll link to the HELLPOWER page, but for all the stuff we talked about already, where can they find more of your content so they can see how good it is so that they'll go back to this project?
Okay, so I think for digital content, my itch.io page, which is halting-storytelling.itch.io, is the place to go. There is a website coming, which will be a physical and digital shop of my things that I will be able to physically send over. That will include Core Borg and Kill Your Necromancer and all the other stuff I will have in time. And also it will have some free content for different games, character sheets and different stuff to download as well. It's coming soon. I'm not going to give you the address because it's not ready yet. But in terms of physical products, I do work with several partners. So in the UK, it's Beyond Cataclysm. In the US, it's World of Game Design. And in Europe, I think the two best places would be either from myself when I'm ready, or All the Problems in the World, which is a Berlin-based store, which is fantastic. And Jan, the owner of the store, super cool guy. He's got such an excellent offer of different TTRPGs and comic books as well. So please visit, even digitally, virtually, and get some stuff from him. The only problem is that as of today, only shop that would have some Core Borg is World of Game Design, but because I've just run out of everything, so I'm doing a second printing that should be ready soon. And the other place that I absolutely ask everyone to go and get as much stuff possible is Cartelian Vault, which is an official store of Stockholm Cartel, so the creators of Mörk Borg. It will have both Core Borg and Kill Your Necromancer, but it's a great place to get official Mörk Borg stuff, and also third-party content from other amazing creators. So definitely a place to check out. I'm not sure if Core Borg is there or will be there in the time that you listen to it, people, but it will be there soon. But yeah, if it's not there, there are so many amazing other games out there and supplements, so just go check it out.
Yeah, and not only the Cartelian Vaults, but also Pit Trap Shop, which is Johan's personal store that just went up as well, has a lot of good Mörk Borg stuff on there. It's funny, I had not... Now that I've seen the logo for World of Game Design, I know that I've seen it before, but I've never really went and shopped there. But I do have to say, All the Problems in the World is such an absolutely fantastic shop. It makes me so sad I have to pay international shipping, but I bought so much stuff from them just because they have such rare, cool stuff. So absolutely, wherever you are in the world, All the Problems in the World is such a cool cool little shop. But World of Game Design, like you said, now that I've seen it, I'm gonna spend too much money here. But that's cool for being in the US too. But yeah, as you said, this project, it looks fantastic. I'm very excited to get it. Very excited to get everything that you put out. It's really fantastic. This is the second time you've been on the show. I have a feeling it won't be the last time you come on the show. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, for talking to us about Hellpower. I know you got a bunch of other interviews going on this week, so appreciate you coming on here to talk to us about it. And excited for other people to check out those other things. But again, just want to say thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I'll be more than happy to talk with you time and time again. Even if I don't have anything else, I can talk just shit, and it'll be a pleasure to spend some time with you guys. So thank you so much.
I feel like you're never going to not have something going on, though. I feel like that's where we're at right now. But yeah, so that's been us. This has been Hellpower. We'll make sure all the links to all the Pavel stuff and to Hellpower are in the description below. Thank you so much. Everyone have a good day. Bye.
Bye.